What's up, Node.js developers? Welcome back to another live tutorial. My name is Vadim from notjust.dev, and today I'm going to help you build a full stack real-time chat application. Chatting is something that most applications need, and it's really good to know how to build this from scratch yourself. And that's exactly what you're going to do in this tutorial. So as we can see here, this is a short demo of our chat application that you are going to build by the end. We're going to be able to see the list of channels we are in. We're going to be able to create new channels with users from our application. And we are going to be able to go ahead and start talking with them. Hello, sending the image. We can also attach images, as you can see here. And this chat is also real time, because if from my physical device, I'm going to send a message here, hello, YouTube, and I press send, it will instantly appear here in the other device, meaning that these messages will be updated in real time. So you can have a real iOS device. It's working the same way in Android, maybe with different like bottom tabs and so on, but everything else is going to be the same. On the backend, what we are using is Supabase for the database, for our channels, users. I'm going to help you understand all of these parts, how to create tables, how to create connections between them, relationships, how to store data in a more optimal way. And also with Supabase, we are going to implement the storage where we're going to store all the shared photos that we are sending in the chat. For the authentication, because a chat application needs users to be authenticated, I can go here, I can sign out. You're going to see that we are also going to implement authentication to create accounts, sign in, and also the sign up page here. The authentication part is going to be implemented using Clerk, which is an amazing all-in-one solution for authentication and also user management. In fact, Clerk is sponsoring today's video, so thank you very much, Clerk, for making this possible. And you're going to see Clerk in action in maybe 20 to 30 minutes when we get to implement the authentication, and you're going to see how easy it is to manage users and authentication using Clerk. So if you're ready, all you have to do for now is go into the description of the video, and there is the step-by-step guide. Click on this link and you're going to be able to get the asset bundle. Go ahead, leave your email, and you're going to see on your email the link to the asset bundle. Let me also open it up somewhere in the browser, because the asset bundle and the step-by-step guide is crucial for us to follow along, because I put there everything that you need to follow along, such as code snippets, step-by-steps, to-do items, dummy data, additional resources and links. So here it is. You're going to receive the link to this one on your email. So if you're ready, let's go ahead and get started. Let's roll the intro. Perfect. Hello everyone who is watching us live. How are you doing, guys? I missed you. Hello from Libreville, Gabon. Hello. Where are you joining us from? Let us know. Okay. You're also going to find the source code here later. So if you're interested in checking out the final result, you can do that here, but I highly encourage you to actually follow along and build together with me, because that's going to be the way you're going to learn this stuff, and you're going to be able to implement the chatting functionality in any applications that you're going to build in future. So it's not just about getting a source code, it's about learning. And I'm going to try to explain everything and make it accessible for anyone, no matter what experience you have. So let's go ahead and get started. And for that, we're going to create a new Expo project. To create a new Expo project, what we have to do is open first a terminal. I'm going to put this one here. I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to open a terminal. Let me zoom in. And I'm going to navigate to a file where I keep YouTube, where I keep my projects. All right, once we are in the folder where we keep our project, the next step is going to be to run npx, and using the create expo app, we're going to initialize a new project. I'm also going to add at latest to take the latest version of create expo app. I'm going to give it a name, for example, chat, and I'm going to say template. I want blank dash TypeScript. Let me double check blank TypeScript. I like to start with a blank template in order to avoid like a lot of files and configuration there, and actually help you set everything up yourself and explain like why do we need every single piece of the things that we're going to install and set up. Even though at the beginning it's going to be a little bit slower once we set up our styling library, our Expo Router, but the benefit is that you're going to learn all of this. So we see that our project is ready. Let's go ahead and open it in our editor of choice, being it Visual Studio Code, Cursor, or any other editor that is popular nowadays or at the time that you're watching this video. I was using Cursor for a very long time, and in fact now I got back to Visual Studio Code because I started using Claude Code more often. Anyway, let's go ahead and open a terminal in our editor, basically in our project, and run npm start. That will start the development server, and I see that it's going to be easier if I do npm start again. Npm start. That behind the scenes will execute expo start, and it's going to start the expo development server. Now, if you have an iOS simulator or an Android emulator, you can press I or A, and it's going to open up directly on the simulator or emulator. If you don't have them, the easiest way to run the application is going to be to simply download the Expo Go app on your physical device, either on Android or iOS. It's available on both stores, and then you simply scan this QR code, and you're going to see the application running on your device. In fact, that's what I'm actually doing right now. On my physical device, I also have this application running side by side. Perfect. That's if we see this line open up TSX to start working on your application, everything is fine. That means that we have created a new project. And in fact, the app.tsx at the moment is the entry point of our application. So if I'm going to go here and change the text here to, let's say, hello world, by pressing save, I see the application reload instantly and showing the changes. Perfect. That's amazing. And we can actually go ahead to the next step. The next step is going to be to set up NativeWind. NativeWind, if you are coming from the web, NativeWind allows us to use Tailwind CSS classes in React Native. And if you don't know about Tailwind, Tailwind is a popular library for styling that is super popular on the web. I really love using it, and basically what it does, it provides you with these pre-built class names that we can use to style our components. With NativeWind, we can use Tailwind CSS in React Native. So let's go ahead and open the NativeWind website and go to the docs and go to the installation. Here in the installation, we see that to install with Expo, what we need is NativeWind and the peer dependencies like this. Let's go ahead. And in fact, like we are at the point where React Native Reanimated has been upgraded to version 4. So I would in fact install them separately. I think that's also what I have in the guide. So I just have Tailwind CSS. That's for Tailwind CSS. But let's go ahead and install NativeWind separately by opening a new terminal and saying npm install Tailwind or NativeWind, right? Sorry, NativeWind. Okay, good. Because it also needs React Native Reanimated, I would rather look at the installation guide of React Native Reanimated and see what we have to do there. Because as I said, React Native Reanimated now is version 4, so it's a bit different how we install it. I mean, all we have to do is run npm install React Native Reanimated. So let's go ahead and do that. And we also need the React Native worklets. This is something new in React Native Reanimated 4, because in the past, worklets were part of Reanimated. Now there are two separate libraries to make it possible for other libraries to also use it. But we don't need to rebuild. This is only for React Native Community CLI. Like in the past, we also had to do this, but as I see now, it's only for in Expo SDK, Expo Start Template, includes Reanimated plugin by default. Okay, I will come back if we actually need this worklets plugin, because I don't see it, but maybe Expo is using it, is setting it up itself. Perfect. Back to the NativeWind installation. What else do we need here? The React Native safe area context. Yeah, that's also totally fine. And I would actually prefer installing libraries in Expo using npx expo install, because it's quite similar to npm install, but it will also check what version is compatible with our version of Expo. So this is a bit more safer, because maybe it's not, the last version has not been yet tested with Expo. So that's why I'm running npx expo install. Now the next step is for the Tailwind CSS, and I think I will just copy this npm command from here. Double check the versions if they are matching this one, 0.5.11, and let me go ahead and do that here. These are development dependencies that NativeWind needs. Yeah, I know. Sorry, it's a bit manual to set everything up, but we have to do it once, and then it's going to be way easier. I'm also provide you them after we set up also Expo Router. I'm going to provide you with the code in a zip folder that you can take and install and go ahead, because I know that this might cause some issues. So if you're having some troubles, don't worry, just watch, and in probably 10 minutes when we finish all the setup, I'm going to give you the zip. Now we need to set up for the second step the Tailwind CSS, and we're going to do that by running npx Tailwind CSS init. And what that is going to do, what this command is going to do, is create a new file called tailwind config here. In the config, we need this code. Yeah, I think I'm okay to copy paste it. So this content is important, and I'm going to come back to this. Maybe even now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that I will later have the source folder. So the content here is saying like, where should we look for files that might contain NativeWind code? So I'm going to add a new one here saying, look into the .source, and then I'm going to copy this part, which basically stands for, hey, in the source folder, no matter like if it's a file, if it's a folder, no matter the name, if a file has a GS, JSX, TS, or TSX extension, that most probably is going to be a file that contains NativeWind. So take that into consideration. So pay attention at this. Perfect. Now going to the next step. The next step is to create a file global.css and copy these 3 lines of code. That file is going to be added here at the root layer, global.css, and is going to import the Tailwind classes. The next step is to add the Babel preset, and I think that's where we need to configure Babel. And to do that, because we do not have this babel.config.js, we can configure it, but we can also generate it using npx expo customize. If I press enter, it will allow me to customize different configuration files. I'm going to press space when I'm hovering over babel.config. I'm going to do enter. That created this file babel.config, which we can update to add this preset. So if I copy this preset and I have it here, let me see. Yeah, I will just replace the existing preset with this one that says that, hey, there is this NativeWind as well. Take it into consideration. Perfect. The next step is metro config. So we are going to do the same thing with customize. I'm going to select metro config, press enter. It's added here. And let's see what we have to change here. Well, I say that we need the with NativeWind config line imported at the top. And here in the export, we need to change it to this. So the export is not going to be simply the configuration, but it's going to be the configuration, but with NativeWind configuration, and the input for NativeWind configuration is going to come from global.css. That's why it's important this global to be in the root folder, so it's going to be accessed correctly here. Perfect. Next step, we need to import our CSS file in our application. Let's do that in our app.tsx. At the top, we are going to import the global CSS. This is only going to happen like once, and later I'm going to show you where. Metro bundler, I think, is the default, so I don't think we need that. The TypeScript setup is optional, but I highly encourage it because it's just a matter of creating this file with this name in the root folder and then adding this line of code. That's it. And now we can try it out. To try it out, what I would do is I would restart my development server with the -- clear to clear the Metro bundler because we added changes to the Metro config. Now I'm going to reload my chat app and I'm going to open app.tsx. I'm gonna wait until the bundle has loaded. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to apply Tailwind classes to my component, for example, to the text. To the text, I'm going to add a class name. I'm going to say text 3XL. This is going to make text large. We see that it's changing. We're going to say text blue 500. It's going to apply that style. We're going to say font bold. It's going to be font bold. We're going to say this container. I'm going to delete everything and I'm going to give it a class name. I'll say flex1, basically replicating what I have here. Align item center, align or items center, justify content center, justify center, and background white, that would be BG white. So these styles, I have transformed them to Tailwind CSS classes, and we see that everything is working as it was working before. So now we no longer need style sheets. We're going to use Tailwind CSS. And one more thing, in order to have this autocomplete, for example, BG, when I write BG red, and to have autocomplete of all the different colors, or basically the whole autocomplete for Tailwind CSS classes, I recommend in the extension installing Tailwind extension. This one, and it's going to give you the IntelliSense, the autocomplete for your Tailwind classes. So that's going to make it a lot easier to write Tailwind classes. And if you are not super familiar with Tailwind, go ahead, have Tailwind CSS website open side by side, and their documentation is really great. Find here anything, like for example, padding. You see padding and you see how it works. For example, P8 is going to add padding to something. For example, if I add here BG red 300 and then I add P8, it's going to add padding 8. If I add PT8, it's going to be padding top. So these class names, like, you're going to learn them as you're using, but initially just go ahead and use the documentation. Or you can also use like ChatGPT and so on. It also works great with Tailwind. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and say git add, git commit, NativeWind setup, and later I'm going to give you this the starter project. Hey Frank, let's go. How are you doing? Thank you very much for the donation. Frank is actually one of the founders from our incubator. He's building an amazing application. Can I tell something about your application, Frank? Long story short, it's going to be an amazing application that will allow you to manage your emails using voice. Basically, getting a summary of your emails, or searching emails, or even listening to your emails with your voice. If you're interested, Frank, where we can reach out to you? And if you're interested in the incubator, this is our 10 weeks program where I help founders launch their applications. You can go to notjust.dev/incubator and join the waitlist for the next cohort. The next cohort is going to be at the beginning of the next year, so there is still time to join it. Okay, but in our case, we're going to move to the next step, because we finished the setup of NativeWind. The next step is going to be to set up Expo Router. And I know, again, it might be a bit boring at the beginning because we are configuring this stuff, but we are making our job way easier for the next steps. I want to configure them now and then focus on implementing the UI, the logic, the functionality, instead of spending a lot of time on this later. So Expo Router, why do we need it? Expo Router will allow us to have multi-page application. So most probably your application needs multiple pages, and Expo Router can help us create these pages and navigate between them. It's a file-based navigation system, and it really works well as a navigation library for your app. So let's go ahead and open the installation guide from our build and go to the manual installation. I'm going to go ahead and copy this installation command for Expo Router and so on, and I'm going to install it here. Hello, Edwin from Venezuela. How are you? Hello, Catalin. Okay, the next step is to update the entry point inside the package.json we're going to set the main entry point to Expo Router /entry. So opening up package.json, you're going to see here main, it references this index. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, no, the main now is going to be the Expo Router, and Expo Router will handle the screens. For that reason, now I can actually go ahead and remove this index altogether. And in fact, the app.tsx as well. Now, if let's see if we need to do anything else. We need to set the schema in app.json. So let's open app.json, and somewhere after the slug, let's set the scheme. The schema is going to be used for the deep links. For example, in this case, your URL is going to be chat like this. So think about like HTTP URLs start with HTTP. In our case, it's going to start with chat, maybe chat/user/123. That might be a URL. So that chat is this schema. And because Expo Router is going to handle automatically the configuration for the deep links for us, that's why we need to set it here. Now we can also install the React Native Web and DOM, and that will automatically make our application run on web as well. Not sure if we're gonna focus on that, but let's install it. And I think that should be it. Let me go ahead back in the terminal that is running the server. I'm going to stop it. And I'm going to say npm start -- space -- clear to clear the Metro bundler. And I'm going to reload the application. Hello, Francesco. Good morning. Francesco is another founder from our incubator. So if everything is fine, that's what we're going to see. Welcome to Expo. We see this screen when we didn't set up our actually app folder. Expo Router, being a file-based navigation system, is going to look for a folder called app, and is going to take those files and configure them as screens. So to get started, what we have to do, I'm going to create a new folder called source. And inside the source, I'm going to create this app folder, the specific app folder that is going to contain the screens for Expo Router. I'm going to start with the index.tsx screen. Index comes from web development, basically the home screen of our application, or in other words, when we go to our domain /, that's the index is going to be loaded. And if I just simply do export default function home screen and render something here like a view and the text saying home, and I need to also import view and text from React Native. If I reload, we're going to see home here at the top. That's nice. That's the index is the first file that Expo Router is going to load, and then we can create other screens by simply creating other files in our app folder. We're going to do that in a second. But for now, we kind of broke a bit the Tailwind, because if I add class name here, text freexl, it's not going to be applied. Why? Because we need to import the global CSS somewhere. I can import it here, import like this, and then global.css, and it's going to work, but index is a screen. And what that means is that when I'm going to create new screens, I'm still going to have to import this global CSS. I don't want to do that. I want to somehow import global CSS only once at the global level, and then everyone else to take advantage of this. For that, Expo Router has a system called layouts. Layouts is the component that wraps around all the other screens in our application or in the folder that the layout is present in. Let me show you what do I mean. if I'm gonna create here an underscore layout, the name is very important. It should be underscore layout. And I'm going to export default function root layout. Expo Router will first render the layout, and the layout is going to be the one who renders the screen that we want to render. So if I render here null, we basically will not see anything. In order to render the actual screen, we need to either import the slot from Expo Router, and slot basically means, hey, take the screen and render as it is. And maybe I'm going to add here class name flex1 items center and justify center. So we see the home here because the layout Expo Router is rendering the layout, and the layout says, hey, render the slot, and the slot being our home screen. Why we did that? Because now I can take the import of global CSS and move it into this layout. And that, the benefit of that is that this layout, being the root layout, is going to be rendered when in any case, like whenever we are on any screen in our application. So that means that now we can import it once and forget, and it still works. And it's going to work in the home screen, and it's going to work in the, if I duplicate the index, if I duplicate the, index, and say here about, about, and in the about I'm gonna say about, and in the index, if I will add a link which allows us to move from one screen to another, and this link imported from Expo Router, go to about, and if this href is going to be /about, what we're going to see is that if I press on this go to about, I'm going here and I can still use Tailwind CSS. Maybe the example of Tailwind CSS is not the best because layout is much more important than simply configuring Tailwind CSS. And to show you, I'm going to show you with when we need to actually use a specific navigator. Because as I was saying, the slot here is a very minimalistic, very like it doesn't have any animation, like it simply renders some content on the screen. That's why when we press go to about, it simply replaces it and there is no animation, there is nothing. However, if we simply import, for example, a stack, which is a very specific navigator native to mobile applications, all of a sudden we have, first of all, a header with a title. If I press on go to about, it's going to navigate nicely. We have a back button with nice glass effect. So all of a sudden we have something here. Same way, like if we have here the tab or tabs, and I render the tabs, we're going to see bottom tabs, and I can move from index to about like this. So in other words, the layout is the thing that is common between all the screens. And the common things in this case for us is the tabs on the bottom, they are always displayed, and the header at the top. And only the part inside here is the page that we are in. So only this part is either about or index, but the tabs is something that is shared between all screens in this folder. Ronnie is asking, could you just add styles folder in source? What's the styles folder? Do you mean the global CSS? Or which one? Yeah, you can do that, but you will have to make sure that in the config here, or maybe in the metro, you have correct relative paths, because otherwise it's not gonna work. But yeah, you can. Okay, so now we have simply 2 pages. We have Expo Router working, and I'm also going to show you by simply pressing on W, it's going to open on the web as well. So it's working on web as well. So we have a URL, we can go from screen to another. We can also see the URL changing, and the fact that, yeah, like Expo Router is working with URLs that are very similar to how web is working makes it really easy for web developers to work with mobile applications and build mobile applications. Anyway, let's go ahead and say, hey, I'm quite happy. Maybe I don't need tabs, but I'm going to change everything here. I will keep the stack. Let me go ahead and say git add git commit -m set Expo Router. Perfect. Because my next step is going to be to dive deeper into our app architecture for all the screens. That's going to take a bit of explanation to do, because as you can see, we're going to mix and match a lot of things. We're going to learn how to use drawers, how to use protected routes, how to use bottom tab navigation, how to use stack navigator, nested, optional tabs, and so on. So that's going to take a bit of explanation, but it's going to help you better understand how to architect your application with different screens, layouts, and navigators. So that's going to be in a second. The way we're going to do this is as an onion from the inside out. The first tab is the bottom tabs, right? And in the bottom tabs, I have 2 things. I have the settings and I have the chats. So my layout here, let me create in the app a new folder for a new group of screens. That folder, I'm going to call it tabs. Here, I'm going to have the index.tsx, and let me export something, for example, this one. And this is going to be my chat list or channel list. And another one is going to be settings.tsx. Again, I'm going to copy this in the settings, and I'm going to say this is going to be my settings. Perfect. For now, I'm actually going to remove index and about from here. Let me remove them. And if I do that, if I reload, I'm going to get redirected automatically to the first index file that Expo Router can find. And that is inside our tabs folder. To make them a tab navigator, the folder needs a layout file. And that's where we get into the nested layouts. So a layout in the folder is going to wrap only around the screens inside the folder itself. So that's how we can say that, hey, this index and settings, they are part of a tab navigation. Tabs layout. Let's return tabs from Expo Router. Now we have 2 tabs, index and settings. With headers and so on, we're going to figure that out as we go. This index has the title index, this settings has the title settings. Okay. I'm going to do that at the end. I'm going to show you how to do native bottom tabs. For now, I'm going to keep it like this. My screen is blocking the bottom tabs. Thank you, Francesco. Hopefully now it's more visible. Okay, so we have index and settings. The next step for me was Nested Stack Navigator. Yeah, that one is gonna come later, but what I want is the drawer navigator. So yeah, I want to also have a drawer navigator, like a hamburger menu, right? Let me show you exactly what I mean by that. I'm going to look, here is my physical device. And we see that I have this, if I press on the top, I have this bottom navigator. And when I go to about, it's just a page with some information. When I go to home, the home is this bottom tab navigator. It has a different style because it's native tabs for Glass UI, but it's the same tabs as we see here. So that means that my tabs is actually part of another folder called drawer. And in the drawer, I'm going to put the tabs. Inside the drawer, I'm going to create another about.tsx with exporting some component like this that will say about us screen. So now the drawer has two routes, the tabs and the about. If I reload, not sure if a lot will change here. But if I'm gonna go ahead and add an underscore layout to this drawer folder, I will start by exporting default function drawer layout, return, because I will start with simply tabs, right? Maybe not tabs. Yeah, it's a bit tricky because the thing is that there is no default drawer here. To render or to integrate a drawer, we need to install it separately and then connect it to Expo Router. There is a link in the documentation, in the guide, that will lead you to the documentation from Expo, how to use Drawer Navigator. For that, we need to separately install the Drawer Navigator. I'm just gonna do that because I have the rest. npx expo install drawer. And the usage is going to be, oh, it's as simple as that, right? Perfect. Expo router / drawer. I see that workless mismatch between JavaScript part and the React Native workless. That's because I most probably installed worklets with npm and not with npx expo, and there is a mismatch version. I'll try to do npx expo install -- fix to hopefully fix this misconfiguration, and I see it's for worklets and the drawer, both of them have a slight misconfiguration, and it should have changed. And let's try to reload. Is it still Supabase? Yeah, we're gonna use Supabase. And what? We again have the same misconfiguration. Let's try to maybe do a -- clear. Reload. And here it is. Now, as we can see, we have a lot of headers, but we're going to handle them a little bit later by hiding them. Now I just want to leave them here for us to understand how we are nesting things into each other. The first layout is a stack, and the screen that we are on in this stack navigator is called drawer. That's why at the top, the first one is called drawer. Now, inside the drawer, we are initially on the tabs. So that's where we have the tabs here. And we also have the, how is it called? The hamburger menu. From here, I can go from tabs to about. But when I'm on the tabs, I'm inside this folder. And this folder has either index or settings. That's the third header here inside. So that's why I was saying like it's like an onion, like it's things inside things inside things. And I can move from index here to settings, and it's going to change the title. But it's going to keep everything else above. So that's a good way to understand how layouts are encapsulating only the screens inside their folder, and the children, like, they're only working downwards. Is it with Stream or something else? No, we're going to integrate everything ourselves, like it's not using Stream. Okay, so we have a drawer working. We have a drawer, which probably is this one. Or no, in fact, like we have one more in between them. Because the drawer has about and home will also have like a channel, for example. Because later we're going to want to go to the channel details. So the channel details is going to be inside the first tab here, but it's not going to be part of the tabs. For that reason, stick with me. Let's create a new folder in the drawer called home. In the home, let's create the underscore layout, which most probably is going to be a stack navigator. Export default function, home layout, return stack. Later, it's going to have multiple screens, such as the detail screen of a channel or of a user, or creating a new channel. But now what it's going to have is going to have the tabs inside the home. So I'm going to move tabs inside the home. Move, and now we are good. Now if I reload, this here should have a... Why does it have tabs as well? It shouldn't, because most probably I need to clear the cache. So the home, yeah, has the tabs, and the tabs has, yeah, settings and index. A lot of nesting, but that's a very realistic use case of how we are building big applications. And maybe now it's not making a lot of sense, but as we develop our application, all of these folders are going to make a lot of sense. Maybe drawer is really optional, but I wanted to show you how you can do that as well. Okay, so we have channel with ID. I'm going to create it later, and I'm going to explain it later. New, also, we're going to explain later. The tabs, we have settings and index, and this one we're going to explain later. We have about inside the drawer. And the last step is about authentication, like protected routes. So protected routes, I'm going to explain them now before we implement authentication, because it's very like Expo Router has these protected routes that allows us to move users from different screens depending on their authentication state. For example, if a user is not authenticated, we can automatically redirect him to the authentication screens. If he's authenticated, we can redirect him to the home screen. So for that reason, this is drawer, yeah. For that reason, the drawer basically is going to be the group of screens that is only going to be available to people who are authenticated. For that reason, outside, or as a sibling of a drawer, another folder in the app is going to be auth. The auth is going to have maybe a sign in.tsx, which I'm going to put like this. Let's do sign in screen. And similarly, a sign up screen. Sign up. This folder needs a layout. Not necessarily all folders needs a layout, but in this case, we want to have the navigation between sign in and sign up as a stack navigator. So I'm going to say export default function of layout, and I'm going to return a simple stack. Now we are automatically navigated to the drawer here because that's where it finds the first index. However, we could navigate manually to the authentication with some conditions or with a link. That's totally fine. But what we're trying to do is to do these things automatically. So let me show you how we're going to do that. First of all, that's going to happen in the root layout, because we're going to either protect the authentication stack, the screen, or the drawer screen. Not screen, but group. For that, this tag will be expanded to an opening and closing tag. And then inside, we're going to render the stack.screen with a name. And the name should be the name of a folder. So auth. This is one of a screen here, and another screen there is drawer. Usually we do that when we want to apply options. For example, for the drawer, I will say, hey, let's call it drawer. And you're going to see that the title at the top changed to drawer. I don't think we need these options here. And in fact, I'm going to say that, hey, header shown equal to false to actually hide it all together, because I really don't need headers in that header. I need to start from the next one. And if you want to apply the same header shown false to all the screens, we can apply it at the stack and say screen options is equal to this. And then these options are going to apply to all the screens inside. Perfect. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to have maybe a variable is authenticated equal to true. If is authenticated, the user should only have access to the drawer. If is authenticated is false, meaning he's not signed in, he should only have access to the screens inside the auth group. To do that, we're going to use protected screens. Expo introduced them recently, and we use them like this. We say stack.protected, and we put a group of screens there. For example, I'm going to put the auth screen here. Then to the protected, we are giving a guard. A guard should be basically a boolean, true or false. If guard is true, we are going to go there. If not, we're not going to be able to go there. I think that's how it is, or it's the other way around. Like, I'm always confused. So we're going to guard the authenticated screens only if users are not authenticated. And we're going to do the other way around, put guards around our drawer. I think it's the other way around, but we're going to figure it out as we go. And we're going to put another guard, another protected route here, but this way we're going to change it to the negative effect. So we're navigating to the sign in. That means that I need to do it the other way around. And it makes sense. So we're saying like, hey, you are allowed to go to the drawer screens only if you are authenticated. And here we're saying, hey, you're allowed to go to the authenticated screens only if you're not authenticated. And whenever this value changes, we're automatically navigated there. We cannot go back, we cannot force it. Like, these guards are actually protecting your routes and there is no way to go there if the guard is saying like, no, you're not passing there. So that's really nice because it allows us to handle this guarding of different screens at the root layer without having to manually redirect, because if you do manually, sometimes you might forget to do that, or it might not work, and all of a sudden people have access to things that they should not have access to. So that's why it's really important to use this kind of protected, and Expo made it way easier than it was before. Hey, the non-existing coder. We will wait you when you get home. Okay, so what we have here, yes, in the layout, I can manage this manually, but in a second, we're going to implement Clerk, and this is going to happen better. So yeah, this is navigated to the sign in, sign up. This is the layout. If it's true, I'm going to be on the drawer. Sometimes we also call this screen protected, but it really doesn't matter. Now, final step is to adjust a little bit like headers, titles, icons, and so on. For example, we saw that in the layout, we said that, hey, I don't need the header of this layout. This layout is more for protecting and so on. Then inside the drawer, in this layout, let's go ahead and say that the home should have a different title. To do that, we are going to open this drawer to opening and closing tag. And then we're going to say, hey, options, give it a title saying, I don't know, home. And it's home. But most probably we're not even going to show it, but we're going to see that a bit later. Home. For about, that's fine. Maybe we can do that quickly. Come on. The about. So if I go here, I see home and about, like proper titles. Okay, perfect. But yeah, let's go to the next one. Inside the home layout, there is the tabs. We don't want to see tabs there at all. For that reason, we're going to say, hey, for the screen with the name tabs in this layout of the home that has the tabs side by side, make sure that you're targeting the right layouts. We're going to say, hey, options, let's do header shown false, tabs gone. And inside the tabs themselves, let's do layout. Let's go ahead and expand on them a bit. and you can say tabs dot screen name index. That's going to have the title as channels word chat, and the settings is going to have settings. So it changes both at the top and in the tab navigator. There is also a way to adjust the icons by sending here tab bar icon. You send here a function. You can take the color from here, and then where is it? This should be a function that returns an icon. Let's say import icons from expo/vector. How is it? We need to find expo vector icons. Let's do here chat, for example, and let's take, I don't know, any of these. Chat box. Let's import it at the top. Expo vector icons. And then we can render it here. And instead of a color, we can put it dynamically color to be handled by there. And I think the size as well can be dynamic. If I reload, we see the chat here. It has a different icon. And you can do the same for the settings screen. Perfect. What I'm going to do is, let me go ahead and do an add git commit app architecture tabs drawer stack protected routes. That's all that we learned so far. I'll show you, like in the tabs layout, let me show you something that is super optional and super new, like a fun thing. For example, if you want on iOS 26 to have this nice glass UI tabs navigator, you can do that now with Expo, and I'm going to show you how. We are going to go into the Expo tabs, and here we are going to see a link to native tabs. The only thing is that this native tabs is an experimental feature that is available from Expo SDK 54. 54 is the latest at the time of recording this video, and it's most probably going to change. So that's why there is a chance that you're not going to be able to just copy paste, and you're going to have to go and see how is this tabs updated in future. But I'm going to show you how we can do that. And these native tabs will give us the nice glass effect on the new iOS 26. So this is how it works. We're going to simply import native tabs icon label at the top where we have our tabs layout. And you can see that it's imported from unstable tabs. If it becomes stable, most probably you're going to import it like this. But again, check the documentation or just skip this part altogether. And then it looks something like this. I'm actually going to copy paste it instead of my tabs here. And we're going to just change a couple of things. Home. Yeah, I don't see the tabs for some reason. Because the trigger name index should match this one. It's index, label home, house fill. Settings is this settings. It's the same. But why it doesn't work? I don't know. we probably need to restart the server. Reload. Channel list. Why they're not here? Native tabs. Tabs. Layout index. Native tabs. Kind of works, but I don't see the tabs. Why? Can anyone tell me why? Let me double check that. Native tabs from Expo Router, unstable native tabs. It's the trigger with the same name index here. And settings. Very weird, but because it was working. iPhone 17, it's running iOS 26, that's important. Let me try to scan the QR code on my physical device to see if I also don't have them on the physical device. Come on. Reload. Yeah, I don't have them on a physical device as well. Let me try to bring them. Don't do that. I'm gonna simply bring them in the app folder, and I'm going to say, hey, the layout, don't render anything, just render the tabs. I'm debugging just to see if it's from. Yeah, here, as you can see, we are working. Here we are working, but inside the drawer, let me just put them inside the drawer. And I'm going to go back here. In the drawer, there will be the tabs. Again, I probably need to start clear. It's the drawer. Most probably it's going to just simply, yeah, it in the drawer is not working. Because why? Inside the drawer, for some reason, they are not working. Okay, that's super interesting, but we're going to try to make them work. In the home tabs, let's do header shown true. Maybe it's something like that. Hello from Philippines. Hello. Native tabs only for iOS, no point for Android. On Android, they are going to be displayed as normal tabs. So yeah, it's only on iOS we're looking differently. Let me just double check if that's a known issue. Native tabs drawer. GitHub. Nesting drawer and tabs with shared routes. Is that? No, it's not new. But I really love this new way. So we have a drawer. Then we have the home, which is a stack. False. Maybe it doesn't like the index. Chats. Let's change the chats. And there is no route found because in the inside the home, I need an index.tsx that will simply do a redirect to /chats. Still doesn't want to show the bottom tabs. Okay, so that's there is a bug with these native tabs because in the outside the drawer it was working, inside the drawer they are not working. But at the same time, maybe because the drawer itself is visible. If I go here in the drawer and say, and if I not in this one, but maybe in the here in the home, I say header shown false. Header shown false. What? I cannot do that. I should be able to do that. Header shown. Yes, it was because of a header. When the header of a drawer was visible, for some reason, it prevented the bottom tabs to be shown. And in fact, I wanted to hide it on this home screen because I'm going to render it a bit differently. And I can still go there by swiping. In the about, it's visible. It has a title, it has this icon. But in the home, when I'm on the channel list, it's not visible, and in the settings as well. Perfect, like these are the tabs. Amazing. Got them working, and I figure out like what's the problem. Maybe I should report this to the guys at Expo. But anyway, back in our tabs layout, that's how they're looking. They're quite different from other navigators because we need like a trigger where we can put the label and the icon. And let's see how they will look on Android. I'm going to run it on Android as well. But meanwhile, I'm going to show you one more simple thing, because there is also a possibility to add in the layout a search bar. For example, here by adding role search to one of the icons. It's not gonna work because we actually need the search tab or search file. Search. And it's going to add this new experience as it is on iOS with a search that moves here. And we should also probably somehow open the search bar, but we're going to see that later. Oh, I think I know how to do that. Phew. But yeah, I'm not gonna, maybe not now. So on Android, here I'm opening it on an older Android. The tabs are going to look normal. So let's see if everything is working. Come on. React Native bottom tabs work better for me. Maybe. I didn't check them. I have a very low end emulator, so while it's loading, I'm actually going to do another thing. For example, on this home, which actually I want them to be like in the layout, I don't want it to be home, but chats, and I want to say message icon like this. Yeah. You can also change the tint color to something like, I don't know, green if you want. I'm not gonna do that, but you get the point. You can change the tint color. Anyway, for the chats themselves, I want to have a header bar. For that to happen, like at the moment, the tabs do not show a header, similar to how the JavaScript tabs had the header. If we need a header for this specific chat screen, we're going to have to transform it to a group, like to a folder called chats. I'm going to move this file inside. I'm going to rename it to index because it becomes the home screen of a chats folder. And inside the chats folder, I'm going to add a layout that is going to be a stack, and the stack has a header. So just to have a header, we're going to have like to create this folder. Export default function, chat layout, return stack. And now if I go to the chats, I have a header. Perfect. Another reason why I did that is because I really like working with large headers. Let me show you how they look. I'm going to do stack.screen. I'm going to say name, targeting the index here. And with the options, I'm going to say header large title, true. And then this becomes index. I'm going to change the title to chats. And when you're going to scroll this page later, the chats are going to go below there. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say header transparent true to make the channels and the chats go below this. It's going to look really nice later. I can also add here a header left icon to open the drawer. I'm going to render a ionicons. How is it called? Let's do it like this. Let's import it first and render ionicons name menu outline. So we see it there on the left. I'm going to say size 28. I'm going to give it a class name, some padding on the x-axis, maybe padding 1, to put it in kind of in the center. Let's give it a color, gray. And when we press on it, on press, what I want to happen is I want to open the drawer. To open the drawer, we're going to need the navigation file. We can get the navigation, access to the navigation object if these options is not going to be a normal object, but if we're going to replace it with a function that returns an object. So see where I'm adding here the brackets. That's what we had before, like this object. And now we added it as a function that returns this object. That will allow us to get access to the navigation. And now with the navigation, when we press on this icon, we can call navigation.open drawer. Now if I press on this one, it should open the drawer, but it doesn't. If I press, it opens the drawer. Perfect. And when we're going to go up, like it's going to go below that line. Whew. Perfect. And similar to how we have header left, we're also going to have a header right. So maybe we're going to add it right now, where we're going to have a plus sign. So header right is equal to another icons. It's not going to have a on press, but it's going to be the add. So here we have a plus sign that later is going to open the screen that handles creating new channel lists. So now we have perfectly working this one. There is some like, yeah, the chat here like sometimes is not like super working, especially like, I think it's good. Perfect. Oh, that's what. Sometimes he's jumping around. Okay, so with that, we have our architecture finished. Should we quickly look at it once again? From the outside in, what we have is the root layout that handles like very global stuff. One of the things that it handles is protecting our application for authenticated and non-authenticated users. If we are not authenticated, we are simply going to have access only to the screens that we put here. In this case, only to the group of, such as sign in and sign up. However, if we sign in, we're only going to have access to the screens that we put inside this protected route. In this case, the group called drawer. The drawer is a separate layout that renders a drawer navigator. It has other screens like about, maybe some other informational screens, but the main part is this home part. The home itself is a stack navigator, because later we're going to have, for example, adding a new screen is also going to be inside this home, but it's going to be outside the tabs. For now, we only have like an index that redirects to our chats and the tabs. The tabs is these bottom tabs. Now we have three: chats, settings, and search. The chats is another stack navigator because we really needed that header that we set here in the layout, and that's the whole architecture that we need right now. As we're going to move on, we're going to probably add more screens, such as the new channel, new message, and so on. But for now, we have a very solid architecture, and we're ready to start working on our UI or authentication. Let's go ahead and do git add, git commit bottom native bottom tabs. And let's see if on Android something is working there. Maybe I'm going to need to get a better emulator because I was doing some performance testing. Come on. Yeah, Android is still loading, so we're gonna get back once it's loaded. Maybe meanwhile I'm going to let me see in Android Studio. This one. Oh, no. Nexus 1 is actually not what I'm looking for. I think I had the right device. I think I needed this one, yeah. Or in fact, maybe I'm rarely testing on Android, as you can see. Okay, here it is. If I reload, come on. Okay. Android, I need to install. Yes, it's going to install a new one. Let's see if it's working. Yes, it's working. It has this one. It has this one. The only thing is that the tabs do not have icons. Yeah, I'm wondering like how to add them. Or in fact, a better way would be, you know what, to do expo device info, or how is it called? There is a package where you can check like if it supports Glass UI, and then you can Glass. There is a small package that will tell you like if it's running on Glass UI, and then you can simply do different combination. And then you simply do here in the tabs layout, you import like something that tells you like if it's glass or not. I'm going to say here const is glass, and then you check if it's glass, you return this configuration. Otherwise, you return a normal tabs navigation where you can set you can set the icons as we normally would. So here is like a normal configuration. So that's how you would do it. I don't think I will spend more time here because we are already behind and I have so much more things prepared for you. And I would really love for us to move forward. But if we have time at the end, I can show you how we can do that as well. Anyway, let's go ahead and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a zip folder here. Git status. I'm going to add to the guide the zip file with the configuration of a project as it is right now, because so far we've done a lot of the architecture, the configuration, and now we're going to start getting into the functionality of our application. Before we do that, give me 1 second. I'm going to take a very short break and we are continuing. Okay, so I am back and we are ready. Do you have any questions so far? Can we build a sport app to get real-time notification and result? What exactly? Like, do you have an example of app? If you do, there is a link to an idea board where you can submit your ideas, and I will consider building them. Because this idea of a real-time chat app is coming from that idea board. The next step is let's go ahead and implement the authentication system using Clerk. So for that, we're going to simply have to create a new account on Clerk. They have a very generous free tier. And like even in production, like you have more than 10,000 monthly active users for absolutely free. So I think that's really great to get started and get up to speed with your application and not spend time on implementing your own authentication system. So let's go ahead and sign up, and then in the guide, or also I will leave a link in the description to a Clerk with Expo documentation where we can see how we can integrate easily Clerk with Expo. Let me give you the link. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to sign up for Clerk. I actually already have an account, so I'm going to connect with GitHub. And when you are inside your dashboard, let's go ahead and create a new application. Let's give it a name, chat, and say that we want, for now, just email authentication. Later on, you can use any kind of options like phone, username, Google, Facebook, Apple, like any kind of integrations that you can imagine are supported by Clerk. For simplicity, I'm going to start with email. I'm going to say create app. Then, yeah, it's created. Inside the native application, let's make sure, let's click on the Expo here. And I think it's going to be configured. Native applications. Yeah, by default, it is like if we go to configure native applications, by default, it's enabled. So you don't have to do anything. I'm going to go back to the overview and simply say, hey, let's go ahead and install Clerk Expo. Let's go ahead in our terminal, say npm install at clerk/clerk expo. We need to set up our Clerk API keys. So in the dashboard, we navigate to API keys, we copy them and we paste them in the .env as expo public Clerk publishable key. Let me just copy this one. Go in our project, create a new file called .env. And then here, paste this name. Come on, why it's not copying like this? Expo public Clerk publishable key. And this is where we're going to put our key. I'm going to go into the configure in the dashboard of Clerk. I'm going to go to API keys. And yeah, here you can check Expo. And you can just copy this line from here. Or you can copy directly the publishable key. Let's put them in the env. This key is safe to publish, like it's publishable. This is a key that it's safe to use with the Expo public prefix. The only thing that I recommend you do while we're here is make sure that we add the .env file inside the git ignore, because we don't want env files to be tracked in our repository. Okay, now that we have this one here, let's go back to a quick start. We need the Clerk provider in the root layout. So all we have to do is go into the source app layout. This is our root layout, the layout from the app folder. We're going to import Clerk provider from Clerk Expo provider, and we're going to wrap it around our stack, Clerk provider. That's it. Now we need to configure the cache token. This is, we set where Clerk should store the session tokens so that it can remember like if the user is authenticated or not. Let's go ahead and run npm install expo secure store to install like a version of local storage that is also secure and hard, like encrypted. And then what we have to do is we have to import the token cache and give it to the Clerk provider. So here, let's import token cache and give it as token cache to the provider. That's it. The next step is to add the sign up and sign in pages. They're explaining here like the old way of redirecting, but what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go into this layout, and here we have is authenticated. Is authenticated, we're going to actually take it using them. One quick thing. We're going to need is authenticated here in this component. We're going to take it from a hook. That hook should be inside the Clerk provider. That's why I'm going to split up this component in two different components. Just for us to have access to the Clerk information if the user is authenticated or not. I'm going to leave the root layout like this, but I'm going to create at the top a function called root stack. The root stack return is going to contain the stack screen here. So I'm going to copy the stack and I'm going to put it here, simply splitting it in two different functions. I'm also going to copy this one for a second here. And now this root stack is going to be rendered inside the Clerk from where we removed it. We did that because now the root stack component is inside the Clerk provider, and we can use here a hook to know information from the Clerk provider. And that hook is going to be use of that we can use here. So we're going to say, hey, use of, and here we're going to check is signed in. It's a bit different, it's not authenticated, but signed in. So I'm going to replace it here as well. It doesn't like this, so probably I'm going to add two exclamation marks, transforming a boolean-like value in an actual boolean. So if it's undefined, it's going to be false. If it's null, it's also going to be false. And now if I reload, everything should be working as it was working, and it should automatically redirect to the auth. Is it? I don't think it is. Let me try to... Oh. The publishable key passed to Clerk is invalid. Let me restart the server because most probably it didn't take the npm configuration. So I'm going to do npm start, maybe with -- clear. Let's reload. And we are on the signed in. There is also here a is loaded, and usually that's important because there is a moment when we don't know if we're signed in or not. Like when we just open the application, Clerk is going to check with the backend if we're logged in or not. So while we are not loaded, we shouldn't try to even decide where to go. So I'm going to say if is not loaded, just simply return an activity indicator. That will prevent unnecessary screen flickers where he thinks that, hey, is signed in? I don't know. It's undefined. It's going to go into the auth, and in a millisecond, in a couple of milliseconds, like it's going to say like, oh no, it's actually signed in, and then it's going to flicker to the drawer. So I don't want that. I'd rather have like the activity indicator as long as it's loading, and once it knows where should be navigated, it's going to either go to auth or to the drawer. And now we're actually getting this information from use of hook from Clerk, and this is going to be dynamic. You're going to see that once we actually sign in, we're automatically going to be navigated to the drawer. Let's go ahead in the auth and let's work on the sign in and the sign up screen. For the sign up page, let's try to take the code from their documentation and let's go into the sign up. Let's paste everything. And in the sign in, I'm going to simply say, let's add a link, href to /sign up, create account. So I have this link in the sign in, import link from Expo Router. And if I'm gonna press on create account, I'm going to be redirected here to sign up. In the sign up, we have everything like the text inputs and so on, but they are not styled. So you can most probably use an AI tool to style everything. Maybe I'm going to simply run very fast to style it more or less nicely. So just stick with me. I'm not gonna use an AI tool. In a lot of cases, that's what I would use it for. But for now, let's just say, let's raw dog it. Text to Excel, font semi-bold. For the text input, let's do class name. Border neutral 400, padding 4, rounded to XL or just XL or LG. Okay, I'm going to copy this class name here as well. For the password, I'm going to add a gap 2 or maybe even gap 4. For the continue, I'm going to say, hey, BG blue 500, padding 4, rounded full, items center. For the text, font semi-bold, text white, and text LG. Nice. Same thing here for the second. Already have an account, sign in. That's simply going to have class name, text blue 500, like a link, and maybe font bold. Okay, I think that looks good. And maybe the background color of the whole page is going to be white. And flex 1. That's it. Maybe we don't even need the sign up here, to be honest. And it would be really nice simply going to the layout and saying it, hey, come on. I will use a large header for that, stack.screen. I'm going to say the name of the screen is our sign up, and with options, I'm going to say title sign up. Doesn't want title sign up, sign. Oh, here I have a typo. Header large title true. That's it. And same thing for the sign in. I will do at the top sign in. And if I go here, it's also going to have like the back button. And you can also do header back. It doesn't matter. You can also just show an icon without the name, but I will leave it like this. So the sign up is ready in terms of the styling. We have a text input for our email address. When we type something, it sets it in state. In state, we have the email address and the password. Right? Right. Email, password. When we press on the continue, what's happening is we call the on sign up press. On sign up press, what is doing? It's calling sign up that is coming from our use sign up hook from Clerk and saying that, hey, sign up a user with this email address and with this password. Then it sends an user an email with a verification code. We say that, hey, we want to verify his that he's the owner of the email. And then it's setting like a local pending verification to true, which is another state, pending verification. Now, if pending verification, it is going to, let me actually do true here for a second so that we can style it as well. I'm going to maybe copy some stuff. For example, the view to the pending verification is going to be also this class name. Verify your email. Let's do class text to Excel. For the text input, I'm going to copy the same here. And for the button, I'm going to copy the class name of a button. And for the button text is here, verify. So if pending verification is true, we're going to have another field where we're going to write the code that we received on our email. And when we press this button, we're going to call onVerifyPress. And onVerifyPress, what it's doing is it's saying like sign up attempt with this code. If the verification was complete, we redirect the user. Actually, we're not doing anything because we don't manually redirect users. What we do is by setting this active session here, we are automatically going to be redirected from the protected routes. If the status is not complete, we do console error, JSON war. We can also say alert.alert. Code is not correct. And then we can also say, hey, let's do sign up attempt dot error. Dot status or dot what? There might be error. I don't know, there should be an error there, or we can, this alert should be imported from React Native as well. And I will do the same here, like if there is a catch error, and we can say error.message. Come on. No? Something like that. And I will do actually the same thing in the first catch, like in the on sign up press, to show some response to the user if something is wrong. For example, sometimes like you might want to sign up with the same email that is already taken, and there is going to be an error, so we're going to show it here. Anyway, let's go ahead and try it. I'm going to set the pending verification back to false. I'm going to reload, and I'm going to try to create an account. I'm going to write my email, and I'm going to say, if I write some random password like 123, Clerk is going to be smart enough to say like, password has been found in an online data breach. For account safety, please use a different password. This is the alert that we're sending here with an error message. And Clerk is handling all of this for us. Nice. So let me do, I don't know, what was that, but a long password, and I see verify email. That means that I'm supposed to receive an email with the code. Yes, indeed, I received that email with a code. If I write here any kind of code and do verify, it's going to say incorrect code. But if I write the correct code, 222905. Here it is. We are automatically redirected to the home screen. This is the email. It already looks nice that you received from Clerk. Perfect. And if I will do reload, Clerk will know that, hey, I'm already authenticated. Like, go here. There was that index that I see there, but I don't know why is that happening. I might have an idea, but it's not related to authentication, so maybe I'm going to fix it later. Perfect. So we have implemented sign up. It was quite easy, to be honest, and it already has like all the best practices when it comes to authentication and creating an account. Now later, when you add sign up with Google or with other providers, it's going to be a matter of calling like one function here. Let's go ahead in the drawer, home, tabs, setting. And here in the settings, I'm going to add a simple button that will allow us to sign out. This button imported from there, let's do on press, is going to do something. Let's say it's going to do that. The button actually has a title. So let me do a self-closing tag with a title, sign out. Now, if I go to the settings, I'm going to have that sign out button. How do we sign out? Well, quite easy. We're going to import from Clerk the probably use of sign out. That's a function that we simply call when we press this button. Now, if I'm going to go ahead and go to settings, do sign out, we are redirected back to the sign in. Can go ahead and create a new account, but the idea is that, well, we actually want to sign in with an existing account. For that, I'm going to scroll down in the guide and copy the sign in page. Let's go into the auth sign in and paste it here. And I'm going to open side by side the sign up and copy some of the styles. For example, I'm going to copy the style of the root view. I'm going to put it here. I don't need the text sign in, but I'm going to need the class of my text input. This one, another text input. I will need the button. This is a button. And the text of a button I'm going to copy. Perfect. And here, for that link, we just had this. Sign up. I think like this. Perfect. So now I can go to sign up and I can go back to sign in. So from sign in, I'm going to use the same email, a wrong password. If I do continue, nothing happens because we just simply console error. That's why I was doing there alert from React Native.alert error. And here I was doing error as error.message. So now if I do continue, I see something on the screen. Might be not the best way to display the errors, but it's better than nothing. So now I can go ahead and remember the password that I set there. Of course, I'm not going to remember it. No? Yeah, password is incorrect. Well, what can we do? We can implement like forget password flow as well, but maybe we're going to do that a bit later. I can go to the users here and I can say, hey, let's delete the user altogether. And I'm going to create it again because I already forgot the password. I'm going to go to sign up and say, hey, let's create a new account. Okay, I need the code. Maybe I should have pressed save password. Would have been easier. Perfect. And now if I go settings, sign out, will I remember now? Boom, we are logged in. Let's go ahead and do save password. Perfect. Now we have fully functional authentication system for creating accounts, for signing in, for managing the user session, all thanks to Clerk. And it was quite easy. Like it took us what? 10-15 minutes to set everything up. Let's go ahead and do git add git commit off with Clerk. And later we're also going to see how we can connect our backend with Clerk so we can authorize users for specific actions in our backend. Clerk is very simple. Yeah, it's super simple. And it also has a ton of other features that you might need. Like organizations where you can create different user groups or organizations, even subscriptions to handle billing. Yeah, a lot. Okay, perfect. Our next step, where is my guide? Anyone saw my guide? It's here. The next step is going to be the user interface. For that, I prepare some dummy data, and then we're going to get started with a user interface. Perfect. I zoned out. Did he create a database user after signing up on Clerk or not? Not yet. That's a good point. We're going to do that a bit later when we set up our backend. So when we set up our database, yes, we're going to automatically create a database user when we sign up with Clerk. Okay, I need some more water and then we continue. Are you going to use webhook? Yes, I'm going to use webhooks for that. Give me 1 second and we continue. Okay, so let's go ahead. And first, we need some dummy data that is going to help us build the user interface before we set up our backend with our database. There are these channels, messages, and users. Let me download all of them. You can download these files. I'm going to just simply copy them and we're going to put them into the source. Let's create a folder data. This one was what? Channels. So I'm going to say channels.ts and I'm going to paste these channels. We are going to have messages. Let me copy everything. Create new file, messages.ts. And finally, users. Users.ts. What we also need is the types. So I'm going to create a folder called types. And let's create here the index.ts. And the types that we're going to need is the following. So let me copy and add them here. So we are defining 3 types. The channel is going to be simple. It's going to have a name and an avatar. The message is going to have a content and the sender user. And the user is going to have name, ID, and so on. Now, this data is importing from types, but it has this shorthand. We didn't set them up, so it's going to not work. But if we go to the TS config and say that, hey, compiler options. Let's give the paths object here and say that when we try to import anything that starts with @ what we actually mean is to import things from the source directory, like that. And this one, I think, should be an array, like this. So now from the users, yeah, it works nicely. The users has first name, but my types user, it has name, first name, last name, full name. Let's say that in the types, instead of name, I'm going to have first name. What's going on here? So instead of name, it's going to be first name, because that's what I have in the data. Huh? It's working? No, it's not. First name. Oh, it should be not here, but on the user. First name. Last name. Let's also add last name. I'm going to update the types in a second in the guide, so you're not going to have this error. Full name as well. Avatar URL, not simply avatar. And created that, updated that, a string. So users now are happy here. Avatar can also be null. So in the types, I'm going to say user avatar. It's either string or null. Messages, it's okay. I'm not gonna fix all the TypeScript issues. Like it's anyway, the types are going to evolve as we develop the application, and later they are going to be automatically generated for us based on our Supabase. But for now, we simply have some data to work with: a list of users, a list of messages, and a list of channels. Let's start with the list of channels. And in the types, I'm going to change it for you as well right now, not to forget. Okay, so what are we going to do next? Let me do a git commit. Dummy data and types. Now, using this dummy data, we're going to go ahead and start working on the user interface. The first screen that we're going to work on is the channel list. It's this screen that we see here that is going to display different channels that we are part of. If we scroll to here, it's going to look something like this. It's going to have a list, a scrollable list of channel items. So what we're going to have to do is create a custom component for channel list item, create a flat list, and then that's it. We already have a header large and the dummy data. So inside our application, drawer, home, tabs, chats, index, that's where we have a channel list, right? What we're going to do is we're going to import the dummy data for channels from our data. Now we want to render one of these channel item here. Let's go ahead and in the source folder, create a new folder called components. That's where we're going to develop our reusable components. The first reusable component is going to be a channel list item. Let's do export default function channel list item. It's going to return a view from React Native and a text channel name. Let's do name from here as well, or text. So we have a custom component. Let's go back to our index, to the channel list, and I'm going to rename this not to be confusing, channel list screen. And instead of this text, we're going to render a channel list item that we import from our components folder. Just like that, if I reload, I don't know why it's stopped, but I will reload the server, reload the app. And here we see the channel name. Maybe the items are not going to be in the center. That's better. Okay, but we also want to send there some data, like one of these channels from our dummy data. So let's go ahead and say, wait, this channel list item is going to get a property called channel with the first channel from our array. Now we are sending this property here. We need to go inside the channel list item component that we just developed and say that, hey, we're going to receive this channel here, and we can render its name dynamically on the screen. I can add it a class name, font bold, text LG, so you can see it better, tech daily, and it's coming dynamically based on the data that we send here in the property. To follow the TypeScript rules, and also this is a very good thing to do, we need to define the type of this channel list props and say that, hey, the channel list item expects an object as a prop where one of these properties is our channel of type channel imported from our types folder. Now we say that, hey, this object is going to be of type channel list props. And as you can see, now it will also autocomplete. We know the channel has a name. It also has an ID, an avatar, and so on. And perfect, so we have it here. I'm gonna go back to actually index where I'm rendering one of these items. And before developing more of the channel list item, I'm going to show you how you can render a list of them, not only one. To render a list, we need a flat list component from React Native, and I'm going to render it like this. Flat list. A flat list has two required properties. One of them is the data, which is an array of things we want to render. In our case, it's going to be the channels. And it needs a render item, which is a function that defines how do you want to render one of these items in the list. So one item is going to be our channel list item. But the data that we send there is going to be the item that we are going to receive when the render item is going to be called. So let's take the item and send it here as a property. Just like that, we have a list of things. I'm going to remove a view here with flex 1, and I'm simply going to leave a flat list. And now we can scroll the list and we can see how also the header adjusts as well. Perfect. We can give this flat list a class name, for example, padding 4, to add it some space. If I give background white, it's going to be everything. Perfect. And let's go in the channel list item and see how we want to render it. Oh, so what are we going to have there for the channel list item? If we look here, first of all, we have 3 columns. We have the avatar, in the middle we have 2 texts, and on the right we have also something there. For that reason, in this view, we need 3 columns. One of them is this one, channel image. Then in the middle, we have the name of a channel and the last message. So we are going to have a view that will contain two things: the channel name and the last message. And finally, on the right, we're going to have a text that will say, I don't know, 7 days ago. Perfect. Do any of our channel have an avatar? Yeah, they do. They have an avatar. Let's go ahead and render it as an image here. The image source. Let's import the image from React Native and say that the image URI is going to be channel.avatar. We also need to give it a class name and say that the avatar is going to be something like width 12, height 12, and maybe rounded full to make it a circle. Perfect. Now we want to put the image and the rest in the same line. For that, for our top view, I'm going to say flex row. Perfect. The middle part is the one that should expand to take all available space. So it's going to get a flex 1. This way it's going to push the 7 days to the right. I'm going to give a gap here, like a gap 3, to have some space between things. I'm going to give it a padding 4 to have, again, some space around this. And I'm also going to give here a border on the bottom. And I'm going to say that the border color, or the border gray, 200. So now it has border on the bottom as well. At the flat list layer, I don't think I'm going to give padding here because I have padding inside. Let's see what I have. Yeah, I don't have padding, like the items are handling that themselves. Okay. What else? The last message here can have text small and also a gray color, text gray 500. It's not that like important. The same thing with the channel name. I don't like full black color, so a dark gray will probably look better, even if it's a very minor thing. And what if the name is like super long? That's also something that you need to think about. Like, let's say the name is like this. In that case, you can adjust and say, hey, this text can only have one line, number of lines 1. That's it. And the same thing for the last message. It can only have one line. And it's going to add these dots at the end. Perfect. For the date, we actually have the channel. That's going to be the channel last message dot created at, actually. Not here, sorry. Channel here for 7 days ago. It's going to be channel last message dot created at. And the previous one, actually we also have it, I think. Channel dot last message dot content. And if there is no content, no messages yet. Perfect. For the created at, we don't want to show it in this format, right? Well, first of all, let's adjust a bit the class name text extra small and text gray 400. Maybe 500 was okay. Yeah. So as I was saying, like we don't want this date to look it like this. We want a more human readable way. For that, I'm going to install a library, npm install datefns. And using datefns, we can format this date in a human readable way by importing format distance to now and saying that, hey, I will do format distance to now of this date, but I think it should be transformed to an actual date, new date, like this, maybe. Invalid time value. Created add or nothing. I don't know. Invalid time value. Can it be like this? And then we say, hey, if there is last message, only then show this part. Yeah, because if there is no last message, like we don't have what to show here yet. But if there is, show it, and you can also even say, hey, add suffix true, and it's going to say 2 months ago. Perfect. That's our list of messages. Think it looks amazing. Maybe on the flat list, I would do shows vertical scroll indicator false to hide the scroll indicator on the right. I think now that looks a bit more clean. We don't need the view. Quite straightforward, right? For some reason, it works automatically by default, but sometimes when we have these large headers, it might not work by default. And the way to do it is just sending content inset adjustment behavior automatic, and that is going to do the trick to make them, where is it, expo. That is going to do the trick to make sure that the flat list works well with that large header. So I don't know why we didn't need it. Usually I have to write it because otherwise it doesn't work properly. But maybe that's the new updated version. But anyway, that's a trick that you might need to use. Perfect. So that is the channel list page. So let's do git add git commit -m channel list screen UI. Link is saying, Vadim, keep explaining things like you do. You take time to go deeper in explanation like it was your first time. You're the best. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I hate that Tailwind gray is tinted blue. Jamie, I'm with you on that. That's why usually I do text neutral. And for some people it might not make a lot of sense, but it's a big thing. Like, I don't know how to show it to you, but like this gray, maybe 800 or 700. Yeah, it has, yeah, here at 600, it has this tint of blue. And if you use neutral, it's going to get rid of that tint. Slate also has a tint of blue. Yeah. Stone. Yeah, maybe, yeah. All right. A very important commit. Neutral gray. Perfect. What's next? For us, next is the channel details screen. So when we press on one of this channel, we're going to be navigated to the details page of that screen, where we're going to see a list of messages. Hopefully the stream is still going, because just stop for me for a second. That's Tailwind. Yeah, that's Tailwind CSS classes in React Native using NativeWind. Okay, perfect. So the first step that we need to set is a screen where we will navigate when we press one of these channels. That screen is going to be definitely in the drawer, because the user should be authenticated. It should be definitely in the home, but it should not be in the tabs. So I'm going to create it as, I'll start it as a folder called channel. And inside the folder, let's do ID like this with how are they called? Square brackets. I'm going to explain in a second why we need those square brackets. First, let's export default function channel screen, return a view from React Native and a text channel screen text. Maybe here, class name flex1, align or items center, justify center. Perfect. Let me go inside the component channel list item and say, hey, when I press on one of this item, I want to redirect to this /channel/ID. To do that, I will wrap the whole component into a link. I'll close it at the end. The link needs to be imported. Import link from Expo Router. The link needs an href. The href, usually, how do you calculate or how do you know like the link, the URL of our screen? I didn't explain that. If you have experience with Expo Router, that's going to be obvious. But if you're new to Expo Router, the link, the URL of a screen depends on the files and folders where your screen is located. However, things that are in open brackets, they can be skipped. But let's not skip them for now. So to go to the channel ID, we first need to go into the drawer, right? That's the first folder inside the app. So I'm going to go to /drawer. The next way I open the folder, I need to go into the home, then /home. Then from the home, we go to the /channel. That's another folder. Then we go to the screen. In this case, it's ID. You might think it's ID. Let's try it like that. Anyway, if I press now, I go directly there. Perfect. One thing that I want to mention is that folder names that are in open brackets, they are optional in the URL. So when you share a URL on the web or with a user, it would make sense not to use this drawer home because they are more internally for grouping things together rather than externally for specifying like a URL. So that's why I actually designed them like with brackets, because I really want my URL to be /channel/id. It's much cleaner. And now it will still work, right? Perfect. But what's this ID? This ID is what we call is a dynamic path parameter. We can put here an actual ID, and to do that, I'm going to transform from a normal string to a template string with these backticks, because with this syntax, I can insert here variables with the following syntax. $, open brackets, and here I can put a variable. I will put the channel.id. So when I click, it still works, it still goes there, but the thing is that I go to /channel/ the actual ID of a channel. And on the screen itself, I can use a hook called use local search parameters, and I can get access to the actual ID that we are redirected to. I'll take this ID and I will display it on the screen. Let's do class name, text, to Excel. You see channel 2, if I go back and do there, channel 7, channel 1, channel 11. This is super easy to understand on the web, because on the web, I have a URL. I need to sign in. I'm super zoomed in, that's why. Do you think I remember? Yeah, I remember. Oh, it's nice tabs at the top. I like it. Anyway, I press one of these items and it goes to /channel/4, and this 4 is the actual ID. And if I go /channel/3, it's going to be the channel details with ID 3. You might have seen this like in social media apps, like where you have Twitter / and your username. That is called a dynamic path parameter. There is one thing that I really enjoyed, is that here some of the things are full screen, some not. That's because when we added this link, it kind of overridden the styles that we put here. Like it became a parent of this. If we don't want that, we're going to put as child. And in the mobile, we don't see a lot change, but on the web, it actually changes and it goes back to normal design, like full width. However, if I press, nothing happens, because when we have as child, link is trying to attach to the child component. In this case, it's trying to attach to the view, and the link needs the onPress event. However, a view does not have an onPress event. That's why when using as child, we need to change from a view to a pressable component. A pressable component is also a view, but it can handle press events like on press, on long press, and so on. So now nothing changes, but I can press and it's working, and also the styles are as it was before. Perfect. On the web, like it's not like the best, but it's okay. It's fine. We are focusing here on mobile for now. Okay, so now we have a details page of a channel. The back button says tabs. Usually, like that means that the layout that is side by side with tabs, we can change here, even if header is not shown, but the name, the title of that screen is going to be visible, for example, in the back button. Maybe we can say back to the tabs one, something like home. Like we have a lot of homes, but yeah. Don't really like what's going on there. For that reason, in the layout, I will add the layout of this channel tabs. I will add a stack.screen with a name channel/id. And we are handling it at this layer because the channel folder does not have a layout. If it would have a layout, we would handle it there. But it's going to, this screen ID is going to find the first layout above, and it's this one. And in the options, I will say header back, something like style, back title style, minimalistic. No, how is it called? Header back button display mode. Minimal and not minimalistic. And that's going to simply show like one icon. That's it. Chat. If we go here, yeah, it's just that. And actually I can also go ahead and do header large title true. If we go here, the title is going to be channel, but it would be better to have an actual name of a channel as the title, right? For that reason, I'll show you how to do dynamic data in the, for example, title. Because at this layer, in the layout, we don't know what's going to be the name of that channel to put it as the title. So we're setting a generic one. But inside the ID, having this ID, we are going to say, hey, import. For now, we're going to take it from channels. Later, we're going to fetch it from the database. But the channel is going to be channels.find. We're going to find the channel where channel.id is equal to ID. If there is no channel, we're going to say, hey, sorry, view text channel not found. If there is no channel. Otherwise, we're going to say channel.name. Is possibly undefined. It's not possibly undefined because, oh, I need to return here. Sorry, return. And now everything is good. So we have access to this name after we find the actual channel data. What we can do is we can simply render a stack.screen, the same stack imported from Expo Router. And now we don't need to send the name, but we can send the options and say, hey, the title of this is going to be channel.name. And just like that is Design Hub. And if I go to marketing team, it's going to be marketing team. If I go to support, it's going to be support. See, it's dynamic and we are setting it directly from inside the screen itself. Perfect. So that is the git status, git add, git commit, channel details screen. Here we learned about dynamic path parameters, like how to send ID. There is also one thing like that, this ID here, it's a bit confused, like it doesn't know, is it a string, is it an array of strings? So what we can do is we can say, hey, the ID is a string. And now if, yeah, it's going to know that it's a string. Let me do again, git add, git commit minus amend. Okie dokie. So yeah, we have here the channel details. The next step is going to be the message list and the message item component. In this channel details page, we're going to have a list of messages. The list of messages we're going to render as a flat list where data is equal to messages and render item. Let's take the item and render for now a text with item.content. So just like that, these are messages as texts. Let's go ahead and create a new component called message list item.tsx. Let's export default function message list item, return. I usually start with a view from React Native and a text also from React Native. The message list item props will need the message that we want to display of type message imported from our types. Let's take this message. Let's say that the props is of this type. And in the text, let's render message.content. Maybe, yeah, let's start with that. Maybe class name, I don't know, text to Excel, just for us to see if it's applied or not. Now back in our channel screen, let's go ahead and yeah, you know what? I'm going to create one more component. I'm going to create a component called message list.tsx. This component is going to simply render right now a flat list of messages. But later it's going to handle basically the list of messages, like all the data and so on. Export default function message list return. It's going to do flat list. The data is going to be messages and the render item is going to render message list item, where the message equal to message, not messages, but item. Okay, quite straightforward. And now in the screen of the channel ID, instead of flat list, I'm simply going to say, hey, there is going to be the message list from our components. Just like that, if I go here, yeah, we see a list of messages. And if I scroll, I see there is a small issue. Like that's a bug of the header large in this new Glass UI, that by default, the header, like when I scroll, like that is not visible. I don't know why, but the way to fix it is to go into the layout where we do header large true. We also do header transparent true. And that should work. But I will also go where in the ID, I don't need this view, but I cannot delete it completely. So I will delete everything, even the name view, and just leave this empty, which is also called fragments, because I cannot delete it because I have two things, the stack screen and message list. Now, if I go there, can I scroll? Something is not right, and that's where I think in the message list flat list we need the insets adjustment, how content inset adjustment behavior automatic. Let's see. Chat. If I go here, yeah. Now when I scroll, yeah, perfect. Looks good. We're gonna fix the styles in a second, but now at least the headers and so on are looking good. By the way, guys, not to forget, if you're enjoying this tutorial so far, make sure to drop a like and also subscribe to our channel, not to miss these kind of tutorials in the future. So it takes a couple of seconds and it helps us a lot. Thank you. Back to back. Let's go ahead in the message list item and work a bit on this one. So what it's going to have here, the message. It's going to be a background, depending on if it's our message or not. So let's say that the message list item is not going to know if it's our message or not, but it's going to receive it as a prop. It's going to receive it as a prop. Is own message is a boolean. In the message list, I'll say, hey, I'll say my ID, or in fact, yeah, let's say my ID is equal to, I will look into the messages actually, into the data messages, and I'm going to check one of the IDs of the users. U1 is my ID, right? And U2 is the answer. Let's say that my ID is U1. And when we render the item, we say is own message if the item.id is equal to my ID. Now, for my message, it's going to be true. For their message, is going to be false. That is going to allow us to set, for example, different backgrounds. Like if I'm here, I want to set either background blue 500 or background gray 200. But that's going to depend on if it's our message or not. So for that reason, let's put here a check. First of all, let's add some padding, like it's too close together. px, py, a bit more. And here the conditional background is own message. I need to get it first. If it's own message, it's going to have a background blue 500. Otherwise, a background gray 200. So all of them are background gray. That means that none of them is my message. That's because why? Item.id messages item.user.id. Yeah, it's the user's ID that I'm interested in. Perfect. I'll add another view on top. And I'll say that the maximum width is going to be 75%. And like my messages are going to float to the left and their messages to the right, or the other way around. So for that, I will change this one to a template string as well. And I'm going to say if is own message items end, otherwise items start. Well, not really. I'm thinking already ahead. It should be justify. No. I need another view here where the class name is going to be is own message justify end, otherwise justify start. And also it's going to be flex row. Okay, that's better. Let's add some margin bottom too. It already starts looking as a chat, right? You should add child view. I have so many views because later we're going to add images as well. And more specifically, I think here is where we're going to render image if it exists. And this is the message content. And this message content will also have a rounded to XL. Okay, good. And there is also a nice thing, like I can do rounded bottom right MD, bottom right MD, so rounded bottom right. And that is going to have less rounded here, and the same thing here. Rounded bottom left MD. I'll go ahead in the list and add some spacing there as well. Here, maybe content container class name padding 4. Yeah, I think that's better. I need to make the text smaller. Text base. Is it too small? LG or base is good. But like my text is going to, like on blue background, it should show as white text. So I'm gonna have here again is own message, text white, otherwise text gray 900. Whereas we said neutral. Okay. Think that's good enough. Image, and this is text bubble. And the image is going to be added later. I don't think I have images right now there in the data. Do I? Data, messages. Do I have any image? Yeah, I do have. So what I can do is I can go ahead and render the image as well. Let's go ahead and say image, source, URI, message dot message dot image, and there is going to be a class name as well, something like width 48, height 48, and rounded LG. But it's only going to be rendered if there is a message.image, because if there is no image, we don't need it. I need to import image from React Native. And if I go here, yeah, we see that some items, they have an image. And if one of them is going to be some of my messages, like this, it's going to be there. Perfect. I think it needs some like gap 2 between items, between image and the text. Gap 1, maybe gap 1. And some messages might only have an image, so that's why the content with a bubble should also be rendered conditionally. If it exists, then render the view. Otherwise, don't even render it, because it might have situations where the bubble is empty, but it's there, it's visible. Okay, so this is our message list item. Git add git commit message list item. Back in our message list, we are not done yet, because in the message list, the thing is that when we open this message list, usually what you would expect is to be able to scroll up for older messages, not down, right? So that's what an inverted flat list is. It's not super easy to work with inverted lists, but because it's super buggy, but we're going to try. By sending inverted to the flat list of a message list, when we open it here, yeah, you see even the header is inverted. Oh my God, it's super buggy. Maybe it doesn't need this one. I don't think we're going to go with a header large. It might be too risky. Like, as you can see with inverted, like it's crazy buggy. So I'm going to go into the layout where we have a channel, and I'm going to remove the large header. That's going to be at least a little bit safer. So if I go here, I see the last message here at the bottom, or the first message at the bottom, and I can scroll up to see older messages. Perfect. And in the message list, I'm going to also say shows vertical scroll indicator, false. Okay, perfect. Git add, git commit, inverted list. Okay, nice. The next step for us is going to be the message input. The message input. At the bottom here, we're going to have a message input. Let's create it first as a component. Message input.tsx export default function message input return. It's going to be a view and most probably a text input instead of a text. Let's also import view from React Native. Let's say that this view has a class name bg blue just for us to see it. Let's go ahead and take the message input and go into our channel ID page, because where we render the message list, we are also going to render below it the message input. Okay, the message input is somewhere there. Where are we going to handle the safe area view? Because it's not visible properly right now. I think I will do that in the message input. I will import safe area view, and I will say that this is a safe area view instead of a normal view. Text input placeholder, type something. It's there. The safe area view will only be applied to the bottom edge. Perfect. Now I don't really think I need this background blue because it's already visible, but okay, we're going to see it. Okay, what are we going to have there? We are going to have a text input on the right of it, like if we look at the UI. We have the text input in the middle, an icon to the left, an icon to the right. So let's go ahead and say, hey, I have on the left a pressable component because we're going to need to press on it. And it's going to have an icon. Let's import icons. I don't remember how to import them. Never. Expo vector icons, okay. Icons. The name of it is going to be something like an image, right? That's going to be for picking an image. Name, image, size 20, color, some kind of a gray. I'll pick a color like this. Now the container that it is inside, let's add here some p2. I'll remove a background. The container that it is inside is going to have class name, a background, gray 200, rounded, full, maybe some padding too. On the parent, I'm going to say, hey, this is going to be a flex row. Perfect. And there is going to be some gap, like some space between things. Perfect. On the text input, I'm going to say, hey, background, gray 100. Is it? Okay, I'll do BG white there, and the gray 100 here is visible. I'll say flex 1. I'll also want it rounded. Free XL. Padding X4, padding Y3. The text that we write there, and 900. Nice. Now the same thing, I will add another icon to the right, and that icon is going to be send. I don't like that they are not super aligned, so maybe I will do V10, H10, and maybe the other is going to be item center. Yeah, here as well. Maybe also. Okay. Nice. Okay, now the text input, we will write something there, so we need to store it into a state variable, right? So let's define the message and set message in the state. And say use state, empty string. The message is going to go into the text input as the value, message, and on change text is going to update set message. Now we have access to this message. When we press on the send, we're going to call here a method const handle send. The handle send is going to store in DB the message, and at the end is going to reset the message, setting it to empty string. Let's call this handle send when we press the button. So on press handle send. So if I do this, press send, it deletes. Okay, but I also want to highlight that this button is clickable when there is a message. So I'm going to add it as a template string, the classes, and the background color is going to be conditional. And the condition is going to be if there is a message, the background color is going to be blue 500. Otherwise, it's going to be this gray 200. Let's see, 200 like this. If message, background blue, background gray. Okay. And the same thing I think should be with icon color. If there is a message, no, if there is a message, it should be white, otherwise should be gray. Perfect. And also this pressable should be disabled if there is no message. So we shouldn't even be able to press it. Console log send message. So if I look here, now I shouldn't be able to press, but if I have something, it's going to be here. Console. Oh, come on. So if I have it, yeah, perfect. Okay, we have this one. What is gonna happen if we have a large message? It's going to go beyond the screen. What we can do is we can say that this text input is multi-line. In that case, it's going to go from new line. We can also say that, hey, there is a maximum height here because I don't want it to be super high, like if the message is long. So let's do maximum height, 120 pixels. So now if you have even a larger message, it's going to be simply scrollable like this, but it's not going to take all the space on the screen. Okay, that's good. Okay. What else? I think on this safe area view where we have a background white, I also set a border top and a border gray 200. That is going to add a bit of more separation between them, between the items. Okay. Padding 4. Yeah, maybe like this. Another problem when we are dealing with inputs is the keyboard, because if the keyboard is visible, we're not gonna see the input. For that, there are different solutions. There are better third-party providers, but I'm going to use the default, the keyboard avoiding view from React Native. Let's wrap and render it around everything that we have here. And I wish it would work automatically out of the box. Oh, why did I close it? But it doesn't, because it has like different behaviors on Android and iOS. That's why like here the behavior should depend on platform. So if a platform is equal to iOS, I want this behavior to be padding, like to add padding when the keyboard appears. And on Android, it's based on the height. And then there is the keyboard vertical offset, which is equal to what? Header. Because even without that, it's going to be almost enough. But there also needs to have an offset of, I don't know, 70. Maybe 75, but this is dynamic. Like this is depends on a lot of things, like on the top part, on the bottom, and so on. Maybe 80. So here for iOS, it's good. On Android, like we need to double check to test like if it's still good. But it's okay. Now it's good. Let's go ahead and say git status, git add, git commit -m, message input. But you're probably a nice guy. What was the context? Okay, now that I'm looking at the hour, like we are 3 hours in, 3 hours and 20 in, and I didn't get to the backend. So most probably this is going to become a 2-part series, because I would rather show you everything that I've prepared, like with all the little things, than to rush it through just to do it in one sitting. So for that reason, like I want to do, the next step is to implement the feature of picking an image in this message input. That's going to allow us in the next episode to implement like uploading images and sending images. That would be really cool. So let's go ahead and do the image picker. For that, we're going to use Expo image picker. Let's go ahead and open Expo image picker. That's going to allow us to select an image from our gallery. We need to install it first. Let's do npx expo install expo image picker. With the plugins, we can set the string for photo permissions or microphone if you have one. If you're using, I mean microphone, not for this one, forget about that. So let's go into app.json, and there is plugins. Let's add some space here. Let's add a comma and then add this array for configuration of the Expo image plugin. That's a good one. Let's move to the next one. Yeah, photo, camera, and actually, yeah, microphone as well. Usage. How do we use it? We have a state where we store the image URL. Let's go into the message input. Define this state, image. Then we have a function pick image. Like this. And the image picker should be imported, I think, import everything as image picker from Expo image picker. So in this pick image, we're launching the library. We're setting that we want, let's start only with images. Allows editing. We set the aspect ratio, the quality. And then we say if it was not cancelled, there is some asset selected. Let's take the first one and update it in the state. Let's call pick image when we press on this button, on this icon, on press, pick image. And let's see what's going to happen. If I press on this item, we see no photos. Why? Recently added. Let me bring a photo from somewhere. I'll bring this one here. I can select it, I can edit it, I can choose, and it's going to show a console log with the asset, with the file name, URI, and so on. We are setting it in state. Now we can say, hey, let's go ahead and render the image also inside this container. So for that reason, I'm going to put a view around my message row, because above that view, here I think, and it's going to say class name flex row, because above that view, I want to render, if there is an image, I want to render that image. Image from React Native, source URI image, class name, here it is. But the parent, I don't need it to be flex row. And I don't need it to be item center. The item center can be on this flex row. And the gap 4, or maybe gap 2 here. Okay, I think that's good. Maybe 32 for the image. And let's also add a button to be able to remove this image if we decide not to send it. For that, I'll put a view around this image. And then I will render an icon, or let's render a pressable and then an icon with a name close, size 14, color gray. Let's say that this pressable is going to have position or absolute position, and it's going to have a background gray 200. Item center justifies center, rounded, full, and where I have absolute, I want to say, hey, top 2 and right 2. It goes all the way to the right because this width and height should be on this view. Class name. Maybe this one is going to simply be full and height full. If I add top minus and right minus, it's going to be like on the edge. It's not very visible, right? Like 100. And this might be dim gray. Red. Don't like red, but anyway, here it is. If I press on it, nothing happens. If I press on this icon, what we need to do is set image to null. So if I press, it resets the image. If I select it again, we see it here and we can send it. And maybe when we do handle send, we need to reset the image as well. If I do like this, send. Question is, should we allow the user to send just an image? Because at the moment we're disabling this button. So maybe I'm going to add here is message empty, but is going to be true if there is no message and if there is no selected image, or if there is no image. Because if either of them exists, I should be able to send the message. So here in the pressable, disable should be is disable if is message empty, true. And here is message empty, and I will revert them again. Think like this. So if I come here, write something, I can send. If I at least have an image, I cannot send. Is message empty? Oh, here should be class name is message empty. Then like this, I think. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, everything working. with this one as well, here as well. Yeah, nice. And that's how we can select an image from the gallery to later be able to send it to the user. Image picker. Hey, Code with Hamid, how are you doing? Okay, let's move on and see what else we want to do. The new chat screen. The new chat screen is the screen where we will initialize new chats. We need to see a list of users, and then we need to be able to start conversations with them. Give me 1 second, I'm going to take a very short break, and then we continue with the new chat screen. I need some water. Okay, so the new chat screen, a list of users. Let's go ahead and do that. First, we need a screen for that. I'm going to do that in the drawer, in the home, but not in the tabs. I'm going to have it as let's have it as a folder new, and let's have here chat.tsx. So the URL is going to be /new/chat. Export default function new chat. Return view and text. Let's do import view and text from React Native. Okay. Now, when I press on this plus sign, I want to redirect to the /new/chat. That plus is where? It's in the header of our tabs, chats, layout. That's where I have this add. So I'm going to do a link. href to /new/chat. Let's import link from Expo Router, and let's see if we press it, like if it's going to open correctly. Maybe let's do as child. If I press it, yeah, it's opening correctly. New, yeah, new. In this layout, of the home, I'm going to say stack.screen. The name is going to be new/chat. Options, let's give it a title, new chat. So if I press, it has new chat. There is also a way, if we set presentation model on iOS, this is going to be displayed as a model coming from the bottom. On Android, that's going to, there is no such things on Android. So it's going to be a normal screen, and that's expected, that's normal. Let me test it on Android as well. Okay, here we have it. Yeah, on Android, like we messed up a little bit, like with the layouts. If we press on this plus sign, it's not even working. Let me do something in the maybe tabs layout. Not is glass, let's do platform.os equal to iOS. On iOS, let's do native tabs. And otherwise, do normal tabs. You'd have to set like the icons there, but anyway, something is working here. This is large header. It's a bit weird how it looks on Android. We're gonna adjust this like with if statements for Android as well. But yeah, if on iOS presentation model comes from the bottom, on Android it's a normal navigation, and that's totally fine. Let's go ahead and do the following. You could set up iOS and Android page. What do you mean? .iOS and .android? I'm not sure if for a layout that's possible. If you mean .iOS extension, file extension, separate files. Anyway, what I want to do here in the new chat is to render a list of users. A list of users. So application. Again, I'm going to create a component called user list. User list.tsx, export default function user list, return. This is going to be most probably a flat list. The data is going to be currently our users from dummy data. And render item. We're gonna get an item and we're going to render a user list item where the user it should render is going to be item. We need to create this user list item. User list item. We're going to get user from user list item props. I'm speeding up a bit, but what I want here is user dot name. This user list item is going to be a type where user is user from our types. And I also need to import view and text. User dot full name, something like that. So user list item, in the user list, I'm going to import it from here. Users. And now this user list, I just need to go into the new chat and render here user list. Okay, perfect. We see a list of users. Let's go ahead in the user list item. In the user list item and implement a bit this view. Like we have an avatar and then a name. For the name, I think we're going to do first name and then space user dot last name. And let's go class name text gray 900 font medium. Okay. Before this, I'm going to render an image from React Native. The source of that image is going to be user.avatar URL. The class name is going to be width 12, height 12, rounded full. Okay. This view is going to have class name flex row, items center to put them in the same horizontal line, gap, we need a gap 4, and padding 4 as well. Let me go on the page. Where is the page? New chat, and say that I want BG white. Nice. Now in the user list item, I can separate them with a border bottom and a border gray 100, like this. But what if, like this is going to be if user has an avatar? What are we going to do if user doesn't have an avatar? We are going to render his initials. We're going to render a view, and inside the view we're going to render a text with his user first name, char at 0 to uppercase, and this view is also going to have kind of the same class names, but it's going to have a BG, or maybe this background, we're going to put it on the whole, we're going to wrap it around them, because even when the image failed to load, we would like to have a BG gray 200. Item center, justify center. this one doesn't need it. And this one will have a B. Yeah. And rounded full. Rounded full. Oh, here the rounded full should be on this one. Not necessarily one. Maybe on the image as well. Do I need this one or just the text? Yeah, probably just the text. Perfect. So now users that do not have an avatar, we have their initials. Okay, you could set up. Okay, so in terms of this one, we are good. What I want to do next is what happens when I press on these items. Well, it's going to be the parent who decides. So that's why we're going to receive a property on press. We're going to send back the user that was pressed. We're going to take this on press from here, and I'm going to transform this view to a pressable component and say on press call the on press event, but call it with a question mark saying that, hey, if there is an on press event, call it, and call it with a user that you are rendering. Now we didn't send this on press event from the user list. And it's not going to be there, but why do we need it? User list. Let's think about it. Press. Well, I think it's not even the user list who will decide that. I think it's even the parent component. So type user list props. It's going to have the same on press event as the user list item. We're going to get it here. And we're going to send it down to the user list item. Now the component that renders the user list is the one who decides what should happen when we press on one of these users. And that component is our screen new chat where we render user list. And we say, hey, const handle new user press is going to get the user. It's going to say console log user clicked user.id. Let's take this handle and say on press is going to be this. Now if I look into the logs, if I press on one of these users, maybe I will do name or first name, we're going to see that the user that we click, we have access to this information, to this event from the new chat, and we're going to be able to actually create a new chat later, right? Right. So that is our new chat. Okay, later we are going to implement the functionality of actually creating a new chat. For now, we are good, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do git add, git commit -m, new chat and user list. Perfect. So that was a lot. We managed to do a lot, and I think that we are going to stop here for today and then do part 2 where we dive into the backend, into the functionality, into the creating the Supabase project, setting up the database schema. Let me show you exactly what we're going to do next week. So we're going to first set up the Supabase. Then we're going to create all our tables. Like if we look in the database, we're going to have, first of all, channels. We're going to save them in the database. Then there is messages in the database. Then there are users. Then there are users that are part of the channels. So all of this information we're going to create together. Then we're going to start integrating our application with the Supabase database. We're going to fetch this information with TanStack Query in a very performant way in order to cache all of this data locally on our application. So it's going to be really performant. Then we're going to add storage. We're going to add the possibility to upload media files and then download and show them in the chat. We are going to also set up automatic replication of users. So every time someone signs up with Clerk, we're going to automatically store their information in our database so that we can go ahead and, for example, search a user here in the new chat. We are going to also integrate real-time for real-time messages. So whenever someone sends us a message, we're going to receive it automatically. And that's just some of the things that I've prepared. We're going to actually dive deep into this build and have it really like end-to-end with so many features. Because chatting is such an important feature for so many applications. So if you don't want to miss that, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and next week, also on Friday, we're going to go live with the backend. If you're watching this later, the video should already be on the channel, so just look for a link in the description below. I'm also going to leave these links in the user guide, and also I'm going to put the source code so you can have everything that we are doing here to be able to implement it in your apps. Thank you very much, Clerk, for sponsoring this video. It made authentication and user management so easy. Like we integrated that in a couple of minutes, and now we have everything set up for managing users, for creating, authenticating, and yeah, this way we can focus on implementing features and not on handling tokens and sessions and thinking about security and so on. We let Clerk do that. Thank you very much, everyone who joined me live. I'll see you guys next week. And yeah, let me know what other tutorials, what other topics from mobile development you would like me to cover, and we can do that later. All right, thank you very much. Have a nice day, and I'll catch with you next Friday. And by the way, if you're watching this live, I will be at React Native London Conf at the conference, November 13 to November 13 to 14. It happens in London. We also have discount codes for you guys. So if you're using NJD10, you're going to get 10% off for the tickets. And also I have on my Twitter, like I was showing you the RNL Conf. And on my Twitter, I'm running a raffle for 2 tickets. So if you're interested, go ahead, go to Twitter. I see Jamie already wants it. Manos already wants it. Go on Twitter, write I want it, and you can win a free ticket to the RNL Conf happening in November. Anyway, again, thank you very much. I'll see you next week, or some of you at the conference. Come say hi. And yeah, take care.